When people think of kids' shows, they picture whimsical adventures, fast-moving action scenes, and simple gags to keep children entertained for hours on end. Although some shows have an intent on teaching moral lessons, it goes without saying that children and their parents alike watch television primarily for the purpose of entertainment. Yet there is no art without an underlying message, and SpongeBob grants no exception to that rule. At first glance, the show appears to portray the happy-go-lucky SpongeBob as a loyal friend and hard worker, always helping his friends and boss in times of need. SpongeBob's worldview draws influence from his childlike naivete, allowing him to enjoy the little things in life, free of alienation. Squidward, SpongeBob's literary foil and co-worker at the Krusty Krab, perceives life from an adult lens. Squidward holds an appreciation for the arts, creature comforts, and finds his job alienating to the oppressive environment and low wages. When I was a kid, I often thought of Squidward as pessimistic, unable to enjoy the more fun aspects of life. Squidward, however, represents the adult who is more or less aware of how the world works, and looking back, it's easy to see why Squidward feels the way he does. Squidward is alienated.
There will come a day when I will make something of my life, and I will never have to set foot in this grease trap again!
Yeah, we'll see you after your lunch break, Squidward.
Okay.
Alienation is defined as the state or experience of being isolated from a group or an activity to which one should belong, or in which one should be involved. One of the best examples of Squidward's alienation is in episode 12 of season 2, titled Squidville. Squidward's house, sandwiched between SpongeBob and Patrick's homes, causes him much grief in his day-to-day life. The childlike antics of his neighbors creates disillusionment in Squidward's current occupation of space. He feels isolated due to his lifestyle, and seeks a place of like-minded individuals who enjoy existence in a peaceful living space. He then sees a commercial advertising exactly what he's looking for.
Hi there! Is this the final straw? Do you want to move so far away that you can brag about it? Would you rather tear out your brainstem, walk out into the middle of the nearest four-way intersection and skip rope with it, than continue living where you do now? Tentacle Acres, where happiness is just a suction cup away.
And decides to move to a gated community full of like-minded squids. At first, Squidward revels in his newfound conformity. He finds an interpretive dance club, clarinet group, a biking circle, and even his favorite food, canned bread. In many senses, this functions as a parody of the grotesque American consumer products that bridge into the realm of absurdity, like canned hamburgers or Thanksgiving dinners. Trouble arises when Squidward grows bored of these creature comforts, as the monotony of the suburban middle-class lifestyle causes him to grow weary, perhaps since there is nothing to distinguish himself from the other squids. Unlike the others, he's got a reference point in the working class, one where individuality, however loose that is, supersedes the conformist cultural mentality present within this gated neighborhood. Squidward's hobbies, such as his clarinet, stands as a visible indicator of his individual identity. But when he's in this conformist society, he is no longer interested in playing it, can no longer find joy in his identity that has been co-opted by the middle-class hegemony. Due to the fact that it's a prerequisite to joining the society, the thing that once made him individual now makes him inherently part of the role that this community places him within. Squidward finds joy in distinguishing himself from his peers through bourgeois cultural aesthetics. The episode Squilliam Returns functions as an ultimate example of this. Squidward's ultra-rich counterpart, Squilliam, works as Squidward's superego. In that sense, his life is the sum of Squidward's desires about himself and status incarnate. Like Squidward, Squilliam does not think highly of Squidward, and makes fun of his working class status.
My private yacht.
Squidward runs into Squilliam on the street. He is distraught, reconciling with the fact that he'll have to compare lifestyles with him, and be proven inferior.
Squilliam fancy, son! I can't let him see me in my Krusty Krab uniform!
What follows is one of the best lampooning of bourgeois culture you'll find in a children's show.
Oh no, he's hot!
Squidward immediately collaborates with Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob, and Patrick to emulate the experience of a fancy restaurant that Squidward presumably owns. SpongeBob experiences a great deal of alienation this episode too, but we will cover that in the next installment. What's interesting here is also the positioning of Patrick in this episode. Upon taking the duty of transforming the restaurant, He assumes the role of a stereotypical army grunt,
I thought the Corps would help me straighten out my life, sir!
asking the question,
May I take your hat, sir? May I take your hat, sir?
in a parochial, subservient tone. In many senses, the show seeks to parody the obsequious role of the slave in the Hegelian master-slave dialectic. Once the restaurant is transformed into the bourgeois image that Squidward seeks to portray himself as, Squilliam arrives and is shocked by the extravagance of the former Krusty Krab. Squidward, getting a taste of the bourgeois lifestyle, rubs it in Squilliam's face. There is no indication that Squidward holds a higher class status, even under the assumption that he owns a 5-star restaurant. But Squilliam feels humiliated, since he must perceive Squidward on equal footing. The facade soon falls apart, however, with the commodity as Beast, personified as a literal food monster, bursts through the walls and scares off the customers.
Run for your lives, everyone! It's the appetizer!
Once this illusion dissolves, Squidward's fancy clothes literally fall off his body, with his Krusty Krab hat and name tag falling from the sky onto him. Without capital to back up this illusion, an almost divine order, or the invisible hand of the market, ensures that Squidward subsumes the role of the subservient, with the true bourgeois, Squilliam, continuing to humiliate him. Squidward's humiliation, particularly in relation to the failure to actualize his hopes and dreams, positions itself as a central theme of the series for comedic effect, or greater commentary the oppressive system of capitalism and the effects of alienation on the working class. What we see time and time again are Squidward's attempts to connect or become part of this ruling class culture, yet every time, he is quote-unquote put in his place, working alongside SpongeBob, the ultimate subservient worker. What we see is that Squidward isn't just there to help keep parents entertained when watching a show with their kids, but to educate his viewers on the greater machinations of society and to get kids to acknowledge the futility of advancement within the working class. In a lot of senses, he encapsulates the milieu of working class life and the Sisyphean task of advancing beyond that. In succeeding videos of this series, I will delve further into the dialectic present in these children's TV characters, analyzing the messages in the show on matters such as labor rights, factory farming, domesticity, and bourgeois aspirations. These themes run central to many episodes of this beloved TV show, and I look forward to spending more time mulling over the implicit messages of a children's cartoon from nearly 2 decades ago. This has been Cultura Obscura, and until next time. Cultura Obscura with Doug is funded in part by the U.S. Department of Land Reform, Corporation of Communist Broadcasting, and viewers like you. Thank you.